What's up, guys? We just got loaded up with the last 2 forklifts of the 5 we just bought. I figured I'd show you these as we head back to the yard. And if you saw my short from the other day, I've already got the first 3 back to the yard and we got them unloaded. 2 of those actually ran, and I'm hoping these will run. So I just wanted to show you how we got loaded on the trailer, and we're gonna head back to the yard. So I got in a little bit of a rush when I got over here to get loaded, and I forgot to set the camera up to show them setting these on the trailer, but we basically used a wheel loader to load them. We just scooped them up with the forks and set them on the trailer because these did not run. These ones have been sitting in the weeds for probably a couple years. I did talk to their mechanic, and when they parked them, the engines ran. They just had some sort of issue with them, whether it be hydraulic or transmission, or he couldn't really remember on each specific one, but he did say they ran. So I'm hoping to get them back to the yard, get them fired up, and see what's wrong with each one. These are really ideal for what we do at the scrapyard because you can see they've all got the bigger front tires. These big ones are 9,000 pound capacity. Both these lifts weigh about 15 or 16,000 pounds. And the 3 I got yesterday, 2 of those weighed 15,000 or 16,000 pounds also. And then I got one smaller 4,000 pound lift, which is probably about 10,000 pounds. So I'm gonna get these back to the yard. I'll show you the 3 that we already got, and then we'll get to messing with them and see what happens. All right, well, I made it back to the yard with these 2 lifts. I'm hoping we can get them started to drive off the loading dock here. If we can't get them started, I'll have to get my buddy with the crane to come over and set them off, because the only way we can unload these here would be with one of our grapple cranes, and that will absolutely destroy it. So we don't want to do that. So I went ahead and ordered 2 sets of batteries, 1 for each lift. I'm gonna get those thrown in and see if we can get them started. Yesterday we fought with the service truck in here on this little bit of a hill trying to get them jump started. And since we're gonna try to fix them anyways, I figured it'd be easier to just go ahead and order batteries. So I'm gonna get the batteries thrown in this cat one and see what happens. All right, so we got the batteries in. I'm getting ready to test it and see if it will spin over. Unfortunately, these batteries are a little bit different than the ones that were in it. I ordered them by the number on the batteries, but the ones they sent me have the post opposite, so they should have been on this side, so I had to flip the batteries around. And then these batteries have this little lip here on the edge, so I wasn't able to put this back on there. So if it does start, I'm gonna have to get some bungee cords or something to temporarily hold these in place. But I'm definitely gonna have to get the right batteries, because without that, these are just gonna flop all over the place. But let's hit that key and see what happens. We got lights. Wow. Okay, I did not expect it to immediately fire just like that. That's pretty good. I'm gonna double check the coolant. I did double check the oil. The oil's good. This dipstick's a little messed up, but it does have oil in the safe range. Then I'm gonna get all this stuff cleared off, and then we'll see if it'll drive off the trailer. Unfortunately, it feels like the front right, well, I guess front left, the way we're looking at it here, brake is stuck. It was definitely trying to pull in forward and reverse, and you can probably see the right side tire spinning a little bit, but I didn't want to press it too hard and that thing break free and the forklift not have any brakes or something like that, because I'm here by myself at the moment. So I'm probably just gonna wait till tomorrow, and I've got some help, and what I may do is I may have somebody take another forklift or a skid steer and chain to the front of this one from inside the building and just kind of pull us this way to see if we can get that brake to free up. That way, if it does free up, I'm at least hooked to something and I'm not gonna just take off. But I'm gonna try to throw the batteries in the Komatsu behind it and see if it'll fire real fast, and then that'll probably be it for today, and we'll try to get these unloaded tomorrow. All right, so I got the batteries swapped out. Luckily those ones were the right size and they fit in here perfectly. But I've already checked the engine oil, it's good. So let's hit the key and see what happens. Very surprised like the first one. This one fired right up. Only thing I noticed, it does have a little bit of an exhaust leak right there, but that doesn't really matter. So I guess I'm gonna get the seat set down and the doors closed, and then hopefully what I'll be able to do is unchain this one and sort of push from the back and push that one off. But it's starting to rain now and it's getting pretty late in the afternoon, so I'm gonna head home, and then tomorrow morning we'll see if we can make that happen. All right, so the plan is to try to use the Komatsu on the back to push this cat forklift off. Hopefully that brake will free up as we push it, but let's see what happens. Well, Alex is getting ready to help me get this forklift off. We were just gonna push it with the Komatsu behind it, but before we did that, he went ahead and put some brake fluid in the reservoir, and we're gonna try to bleed the brakes just to see if we can get the brakes to work real fast. It'll just be a lot easier and safer if we do that. But if they still don't work, we are still gonna push it. And these are pretty similar to a car brake. We just bleed them down at the drums themselves. So in a second I'll have to pump the brakes, hold pressure on the pedal while he releases the bleeder to let fluid come out. Yeah, it's down to the floor now. Yeah, the pedal's only going down like halfway now. Well, we got the brakes bled and the pedal feels pretty firm. We tried to move it after that and the tire was still locked up, so he got under there and backed the emergency brake off to see if that would free it up. But now we're going to try to see if it'll move. Got it unloaded. This forklift started to spin when I was pushing behind it, so I hooked a chain to the front and pulled it through the warehouse with another. We had a little bit of an issue getting past the dock door because that front tire wanted to pull it over towards the side. But we got it out, and then once we got it pulled through the warehouse and we're going down to the shop, the front tire finally broke free and it started driving under its own power. So that's good news. The bad news is we left an oil trail everywhere we were. So let me show you. So you can see in these spots where he was sitting while we're trying to get him pulled forward, they left a pretty big oil spot there and there. I did notice whenever we were initially checking that forklift, it seemed like the oil was really thin, so I think it's actually getting diesel in the oil. So we'll figure out where that leak's coming from, and then it might need a set of injectors or something, but overall it's a good sign to see that it is driving under its own power. I'm going to unload this Komatsu, get my chains and everything put up. I got to go pick up some other stuff, and then we'll get back on the forklifts. Well, it's been a couple days since we went and picked up all these forklifts. I got them down here in front of the shop, just waiting to get some time to look at them and see what's going on with them. We've done a little bit of checking, but we haven't had time to go over them completely. But I figured I'd go ahead and show you guys what we got going on, talk about what the future plans are for them, and then at a later date, once we start to actually work on each one individually, I'll make some additional videos. But you guys saw us unloading this Komatsu 40 right here and this cat. So on the first load that I went and picked up, I actually picked up 3 lifts. I got this little Komatsu that's a 4,000 pound capacity lift, and then I got 2 other Komatsu 40s which are 9,000 pound capacity. This one we tried to get running so we could drive it off the trailer, and we discovered that the bolts on the starter were loose. Let's see, I can't really see it, it's down there over under those batteries, but when it would try to spin over, the starter would try to kick out instead of spin the flywheel, and so we tightened it down, and then the starter just sounded really weak and it didn't really want to turn over that great. Unfortunately, this one is also pretty low on engine oil, so I'm hoping that the engine is not locked up. The reason I think it's low on engine oil, it looks like when they moved it with a loader, they might have accidentally broken the drain plug on the oil pan, so it was dripping out there. So we're gonna get a starter put in this one just to see what's going on with it. We may just swap one out of the other ones that we know has a good starter, so we don't waste the money on a brand new starter. But if this one can't be fixed, it'll end up being used for parts for the other ones. This little one drove off the trailer, it cranked right up and ran. The key's not in it, or I would show you guys. But the problem with this one is it's either got a bad head gasket or a bad head. It cranks up and runs fine, but it is pressurizing the cooling system and it is having antifreeze come out of the overflow. So we'll definitely fix this one. We'll get the head off and take it to the machine shop, put a new head gasket on it, and then go from there. This one will be a good outdoor lift for here around the yard because it's got the bigger front tires and it's diesel, and so we don't have to worry about swapping fuel tanks as much. These other 3, if we get them running and working and everything's fine, I'll probably take at least one of these over to the other yard because they have gravel, and these really big front tires will work a lot better as an outdoor lift than some of our small tire lifts we've got. So, and then the other ones we'll just keep here and use on the yard as well. It's always nice to have additional lifts, especially some that are a little bit bigger and not just indoor warehouse lifts. But let me show you the last one we got over there in front of the shop. So this is the 5th and final lift that I picked up. This one is also a Komatsu 9,000 pound lift. The nice thing about this one is it has dual front tires, so this one works extremely well outside. This one will for sure end up over at the auto parts yard because everything over there is gravel, and we sort of struggle using a forklift over there because we've got some small tire lifts. But this one ran and drove and pulled off the yard. Actually, when I picked it up, they knew that it still ran and drove. They said it had some sort of issue after you ran it for a while, it either had a hydraulic issue or an overheating issue. They weren't really sure. So we drove it off the trailer and everything seemed fine. One of the guys, when he had a couple minutes, went ahead and topped off all the fluids, the antifreeze, the engine oil, the hydraulic oil, and ran it for a little while, and everything seemed to be okay. You can see this really bad hydraulic leak right here on this side is coming from this hydraulic cylinder. So we're gonna get that pulled off and resealed, and then we will use it around here for a couple days, just to make sure that everything is fine. I know this one needs the brakes adjusted. It pulls really hard to one side, so one side is a lot tighter than the other. And then after we use it here for a couple days and can kind of give it a better bill of health, we'll get it serviced, fresh oil, fresh filters, fuel filters, hydraulic filters, all that good stuff. Get it cleaned up, get all this old nasty grease off of it, and then I'm gonna take this over to the other yard so they can start using it. I hate that I can't show you guys this project all in one video. Unfortunately, whenever I buy projects like these, they can last several months until we get time to fix them all up. We have 2 scrap yards full of equipment and trucks and trailers and everything else to keep running, and we just work stuff like this in whenever we get time. Projects like these are a good way that we save money on our equipment and our overall overhead, because I can pick up machines like these for a little bit more than scrap price, and if I wanted to buy a forklift of equivalent size brand new, it would be extremely expensive. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.